Good morning and welcome to the special edition of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call, the Saturday special. We have children and grandchildren. We fondly love them, care for them, and sometimes we are perturbed, we are disturbed. Why? We call them terrible teens. We are amazed, we are shocked by the behavior, by their taste, by their habits. Why so? These adolescents are a much maligned, much misunderstood part of the humanity, though they are the most important, the most intelligent, and most useful part of the society. But then this disillusionment, this frustration with adolescents is not something new. Way back, Aristotle said, and I was amazed when I read Aristotle, youth are heated by nature as drunken men are heated by wine. And this was one of the most intelligent persons of the world ever said. Shakespeare, who is considered to be an epitome of knowledge, capability, creativity, said, I would imagine that there's no age between 16 and 23. So he doesn't want anybody between the age of 16 and 23. He wants them people to have a quantum jump. For there's nothing in between for getting ventures with child, wronging with ancestry, stealing, and fighting. Now, such sad portrayal of adolescents are only half truth. There is no denying the fact that with the onset of puberty begins an awkward, emotionally volatile, and often a confusing phase of life. And it's replete with increased risks and vulnerabilities. But then can you deny the fact that adolescence is also a time of remarkable opportunities? It's a dynamic period of adaptation and foundational brain development. Now here, look at the stupid attitude of the parents and the elders. A child is walking, an infant, to a 1-year-old, and he falls down. And we always say, look here, doesn't matter, you're learning. With a process, with the passage of time, you'll be able to run, not only walk. But at the same time, if an adolescent falls down, makes a mistake, we blame him. Why? You are grown up, why didn't you do it? Could you not think? You have got brains. Now this is a time when we, the parents and the grandparents, have to get over the negative stereotypes like the terrible teens. Let's not deny that adolescence is a time of rapid growth, learning, and change. And if they fall, it's a process of learning. Let's again not deny the fact that they're passing from one major state of growth and entering into another state of human development. And this passage, this corridor between the two stages, is a dynamic period, as I said earlier, of adaptation and foundational brain development. We want to ignite passions in the adolescent so that they can face the world. And then we want them to fuel their destructive feelings and reckless behavior. We want to sustain it. And youthful passions also give rise, we forget at the same time, that they give rise to inspired goals, immortal poetry, falling intensely in love, and bold innovations in music, art, fashion, and technology. And whom do we blame for the mistakes of the adolescents? We blame it on their brains, as Aristotle did. And the risky behavior of the teenagers is not a result of the deficiency in the brain. It's not the result of immaturity. I've seen people saying it, well, he's a child, he's growing up, he'll learn. No. It's not an imbalance or a weakness in the functions of the prefrontal cortex. It is not broken and impaired work. As a matter of fact, their risky behavior is a result of desire to take action. The results are not material, as I've already been saying. The desire is to explore, try out new things, learn about larger social world as quickly as possible. And when you want to learn, mistakes will be common. Why these mistakes, which are common in ordinary people and we accept it, should cause so much of revulsion, anger, frustration in the parents and the grandparents, or in the society as a whole? The adolescent is a period when they have to acquire new and sufficient knowledge, skills, social competence, and other areas of development so that they can take on adult roles as the time comes. The transition from a child to becoming an adult requires an enormous amount of learning. The amount of learning between the age of 13 to 20 is humongous. No other stage of learning, stage of life is so replete with learning as this stage is. And we don't have the capability to understand that the child is learning, and then the learning is in such a large mass. The mistakes would also be in an equally large mass. This is a process of transition and includes, this learning includes specialized knowledge, staggering range of complex skills, and understanding the social world. Consider, for example, as I said earlier, a toddler falls because he's trying to learn, but we tolerate it. A teenager makes a mistake and we condemn it. Can anything be more idiotic? The problem is not with the teenagers. The problem is with the parents and the grandparents, the uncles and aunts. The problem is the society, which on the one side expects them to be adults. On the other side, when they behave like adults, they want them to be children. And these are the kids who are confused between the expectations which are not related to their capabilities and to their developmental period. You see, this is an age, puberty is definitely an age, when people have to explore and take on social risks. And how do they do it? This is by adopting new kinds of experimental and experiential learning. And when they experiment, when anybody experiments, failures will be there. A scientist comes up with an invention and we praise him. But we forget that he has spent so many years, maybe decades of years, failing in the same experiment. And one day he's successful and we praise him. But the children, we don't. We always underestimate the brain's capacity for learning and development. And then another thing, the most important thing, adolescent is a sensitive period for new kinds of social learning. At the onset of puberty, individuals appear to become extra sensitized to social acceptance or rejection, between respected and disrespected, and wanting social admiration. And at this time, when they get the rejection, when they are disrespected, and instead of admiration, they get ridiculed, then what does it happen? They become rebels. I'm not denying being rebel is something bad. As a matter of fact, I admire rebels because they can break down the idiotic constraints under which the adult society functions. But then this sensitive period, if they are giving the admiration, if they're giving the support, they are giving a pat instead of a slap, the results would be wondrous. And these self-conscious emotions can enable us to do much more. And one thing more, why do we call them teenagers? Simply because their ages end in teen, 13, 14, 15? No. Let's not deny it that the teenagers, I call them adolescents always, they evoke negative association linked to the stereotype calling of teenager. First, let's use the proper terminology. We don't call any other stage, label any other stage of life. So why only label teenagers? Once you stop labeling teenagers, consider them as human beings. Because this narrow age range between 13 to 19 is a time of growth, but then the growth of a 13-year-old is not the same as that of a 19-year-old. So to lump them together is not possible and not desirable. Most important is to have a distinction that today the puberty is starting at a much earlier age than it ever happened. A girl today at 12 is much more aware of her body than a girl of 18 used to be maybe about 40, 30 years back. So you have got to understand that the puberty doesn't start at 30. Maybe it started at 7, maybe it started at 8. And until and unless you can understand and appreciate it, you would not be able to enable these children grow up. And the stereotypal problems of the adolescents, depression, substance use, accidents, and reckless behavior are in fact a growing interest in targeting very young brains to face a societal challenge. And that's a period when they need encouragement, not negativity. Most important is our failure to see them as a force for good. We are seeing nowadays an unprecedented surge in the number of adolescents. I'm going to talk about next time that we mistakenly call this word to be an aging word. It's not. We'll discuss this next week. But today, let's not deny it, that these adolescents are a great force for good. Properly motivated, they can bring about a social, economic, and political revolution. And they can do things right where we people have failed miserably. There is something different that to camouflage our failures, we criticize them. The reality is we are afraid that they might do better than us. Let's not deny that the unprecedented progress in technology, education, knowledge, health, communication, we are challenged today. And in this challenge, we are forgetting this major part of our life society. These adolescents, who are the people who can revolutionize the inequalities, whether they are social, economic, political, or ecological, and set up a new world order. Let's accept them as the forces of good. They are a trajectory of the human development of this planet. And we want to cut that trajectory so that it's a straight line. And the development of human mind is always in a trajectory and it will remain to be so. So let's not cut out the trajectory to make it a straight line. This would destroy a major arc of the human society, and that is not done. Let's take adolescents as human beings who are the hope of the future. They don't need criticism, they need admiration. Thank you.